lesson 20 is on simplifying radicals. With radicals, it's important to note that the square root of 5 times the square root of 2 is the same thing as saying the square root of 5 times 2, which is also the same thing as 10. So anytime you have two radicals and you're multiplying, this only works for multiplication. You can multiply what's under the radical and say it's the square root of 10. This does not work for addition and subtraction of radicals unless you have the same number under the radical sign. So if I were to say the square root of 24 times the square root of 2, that is the same thing as the square root of 48. But I can simplify this by looking at the factors of 48. And 48 is 2 times 24. 24 is 4 times 6. 4 is 2 times 2. And 6 is 2 times 3. So really the square root of 48 is, and I can put all these prime factors under the radical, it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. I can also break these up to say that it's the square root of 4, combining those two, times the square root of 4, combining those two, times the square root of 3. Well, the square root of 4, as we know, is 2. The square root of 4, again, is 2 times the square root of 3. Now I can multiply them all. 2 times 2 is 4 times the square root of 3. And that's what we're going to do when we simplify radicals. So let's look at example problem 20.2. It says to simplify 3 times the square root of 2 times 4 times the square root of 12 times 2 times the square root of 3. Well, the first thing I want to do is find my prime factors of 12 to see if there's anything I can pull out. 12 is 2 times 6. 6 is 2 times 3. I can pull out a 2. So it's 3 times the square root of 2 times 4 times 2, which is 8, times the square root of 3 times 2 times the square root of 3. Now I can multiply my 3 and my 8 and my 2 work similar to coefficients if we have a common term. Okay? So 3 times 8 is 24, and 24 times 2 is 48 times the square root of, and I can say 2 times 3 times 3. Well, again, I can pull out a 3 since it's in there twice, and 48 times 3, that's 24, that's 144 times the square root. I still have the 2 under the radical. And this is your answer. Okay, let's look at 20.3. In 20.3, it says 4 times the square root of 3, and now this is in brackets, times 2 times the square root of 3 minus the square root of 6. So I'm just going to multiply what's outside the radical. That's 8 times, again, I'm distributing. 8 times the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. I'm leaving that under the radical because I can pull it out. Minus 4 times, that's a 1, times the square root of, that's 18. Okay? Well, I know I can pull my 3 out, and 3 times 8 is 24. But let's look at the factors of 18. We know there are 3 and 6 is 3 times 2. So I can pull a 3 out. So it'd be minus 4 times 3, which is 12, times the square root of 2. I cannot combine these terms because one has a radical, and you cannot combine them. This is the most you can simplify this answer. All right. The second half of the lesson is on parallel lines. And from geometry, you should remember that parallel lines have the exact same slope. So I could have two lines. Remember my slope form, y equals mx plus b. If m is the very same number in two equations, then you can say that the lines are parallel. So y equals 1/2 x plus 2 is parallel to y equals 1/2 x minus 1, which is also parallel to y equals 1/2 x minus 4. To determine if they're parallel, you have to have it in your slope form equation. If you have any questions on this lesson, please do not hesitate to email me.